So under these circumstances, I don't know how President Trump will be able to acquire, shall we say, conquer Gaza. Israel was supposed to do that for President Trump. So I think that this whole idea is just one of those loose ideas, which has not really taken the ground reality into account. I don't know if President Trump is aware of the ground reality, because he's in no position to dictate anything to President Putin, because on the ground realities in Ukraine are such that they have to respond to President Putin's demands for cessation of hostilities. President Putin has made it very clear that he will only stop the war if it can stop forever, and that means that if the security considerations or the security issues that Russia had raised can be addressed now and forever.
Watch Federal Post. Bold and independent.
Assalamu alaikum, I am Hasan Zafar, and this is program Talking Politics. We are joined by Dr. Zubair Khan Sahab. He is a political economist, and we shall be talking about President Trump and his policies and how those policies are going to impact this region in particular where we exist. Thank you very much, Dr. Sahab, for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's begin by talking about President Trump's policies. If you like, we can start with what he is saying about Gaza now. As the CNN is reporting, he says that he plans to take over Gaza, rebuild it, and reimagine it altogether. And the Arab nations are opposing this idea. How do you see this story unfolding in the future and its implications on the region and on Pakistan?
Well, the ground situation in Gaza is such that Trump's plan seems totally unrealistic. We have seen about 15 months of aerial bombardment and destruction, and the use of so much bombs that maybe even World War II hadn't seen such a concentrated amount of bombing. And yet we see that Israel, if Israel is doing this at the behest of the US, has not been able to control even that small strip of land. Hamas has demonstrated in this deal that not only is it a credible adversary, because Israel was forced to have an agreement with them, but that it has been able to look after its prisoners according to international standards, and that it has demonstrated that its troops or its fighters are there in full strength. This has been reported and acknowledged by commentators in the US and across the Western world. So under these circumstances, I don't know how President Trump will be able to acquire, or shall we say, conquer Gaza. Israel was supposed to do that for President Trump. So I think that this whole idea is just one of those loose ideas, which has not really taken the ground reality into account. I don't know if President Trump is aware of the ground reality, because he's in the midst of such a busy period and making policies and making statements on so many diverse issues that whether he has paid attention to Gaza or not. This could have been on the prompting of Israel, which has already lost its war objectives, lost according to the war objectives, and is now probably trying to use Mr. Trump to try and achieve what it failed to achieve in 15 months. So I think right now this idea is totally without any, shall we say, meaningful foundations.
Yes, and first 10 days of Trump's administration, they have been full of very strange demands from the rest of the world. You know what he was demanding from the Canadians, or you know what he was demanding from Mexico, and he also demanded the OPEC countries to reduce oil prices, which actually happened. I don't know if it was on his demand or it was just market driven that the prices came down during the previous week. So what is altogether his policy? Why is he doing? Why is he making such demands from everybody, from his neighbors, and especially from the Middle Eastern nations? And his argument was that the higher oil prices have benefited Russia in their drive, their war in Ukraine.
Well, I personally think that the euphoria of winning that election by such a big margin in the United States and defying all political expectations of making such a dramatic comeback, not only winning the electoral college but the popular vote, has created a kind of an illusion in the minds of those around him or in his own mind that now he is not only master of the United States, where he is literally taking on the establishment and the order that they had over there. Whatever, I'm not passing a judgment on the order, but whatever they had, he's taking them on. Now, whether it created illusion in his mind that he can do that with the rest of the world. Let's start with the most important topic for the US, Ukraine. Now, he's in no position to dictate anything to President Putin because on the ground realities in Ukraine are such that they have to respond to President Putin's demands for cessation of hostilities. President Putin has made it very clear that he will only stop the war if it can stop forever. And that means that if the security considerations or the security issues that Russia had raised can be addressed now and forever. So we have seen that over there and now in Gaza, no matter what the Americans have thrown behind Israel in terms of weapons and missiles and planes and unlimited amount of budgetary support, Israel has not been able to win the war with Hamas or with Hezbollah. Yes, they were able to decapitate the leadership, but Hezbollah has demonstrated that it's an organization that is so strong and robust that despite losing a large number of its leaders, it has survived those days and continues to pose a threat. So I think that the American president will probably, just as in the case of Mexico and in the case of his confrontation with Canada, I think the ground realities will probably force him to respond, appropriately.
Right. Two more actions. There is a closing down of the US aid, and only Israel and Egypt, they have made two exceptions in that. And the United Nations Human Rights Committee, the president has also signed an executive order to withdraw the United States from this Human Rights Committee of the United Nations. How do you put these two things together in relation to what is happening in Gaza?
Well, moving away from Gaza for now, because these measures are the only ones that impact Pakistan directly, although they are not specifically tailored for Pakistan. Putting America first policy in the question of in the matters of aid, the aides and the cabinet members of President Trump have clarified that they are stopping all aid so that they can assess whether this assistance is in line with the foreign policy objectives of the United States. And the foreign policy objectives of the United States are being spelled out again. So the suspension is for about 90 days. You very rightly pointed out the exceptions are the military assistance to Egypt and Israel, and some humanitarian aid. So, apart from that, all assistance has been blocked. Now, this will definitely impact Pakistan. Pakistan 10 years ago was receiving about $1 billion from the United States as military assistance in the war against terror, against various services that Pakistan was rendering for the United States to no avail, and much to the, shall we say, disadvantage of Pakistan eventually, which has left, and when the United States left Afghanistan, that aid very rapidly declined and left Pakistan with all the adverse consequences of having sided with the United States shall we say, neglectfully of Pakistan's own national interest in the region. United States is not from the region and it left. Pakistan is left in the region with a range of adversaries. And now we are we know that this year and the new year and even last year, there have been an increasing number of, shall we say, attacks on Pakistan's armed forces and various law enforcement agencies, causing with very large number of casualties. So Pakistan suffered as a result of that large aid. Now Pakistan, compared to say 10 years ago, 2014, when we were receiving about over $1 billion, now we're receiving less than say $120 million. But it's mostly in the area of energy, agriculture, health. I think other one
education,
or two.
Somewhere in women's education, in such areas.